All right, so this is about one of my favorite music groups growing up. Formerly Born Americans, but it's just but since the two artists gone separate ways, we're gonna focus on one of them, namely Edley Shine, and he's basically set to come with a new album this year amidst the COVID-19 issue. So all right, so here's the article. So. Former Born Jamaican named Edley Shine hits home with a new EP. Contemporary, Contemporarily, the blend of hip hop and reggae sounds is popular and highly sought after, but that wasn't the case when Edley Shine first entered the music business decades ago when he did Born Jamaicans, which was comprised of him and his former bandmate Norman Mr. Natch Howell. All right, and the interesting thing to note is that these were not, they're not Jamaican born, hence the reason why they gave their group that name, Born Jamaicans, that their lineage comes from Jamaica, but they are African Americans. All right, so, all right, okay, but the thing is what they said, despite this, so they unfortunately had to struggle for respect within the local industry because they basically did things where they're combining hip hop and reggae dancehall. All right. 20 years later, Edley believes that he has right himself enough to get back into the game, especially the modern music climate that has become more open to the multicultural expression. On April 17, which is basically next week, Edley will release Babylon Breeze, produced by some guy, I think I've heard of Rose Summers, the lead single from his long awaited EP based on talent. All right, so I think it's to notice that they not mention that he had another LP, which was Foreign's Finest, that came out years before this, but they're not mentioning that there. I mean, I've heard Foreign's Finest, really good album. I think he released it online, but really good album. So this would be his second LP that he's dropping. So just for those who didn't know that, cause I didn't mention that here. All right, so yeah, all right, so continue. So Santa Delicious Vinyl, Born Americans were together from 1993 to 1998. And there's a point where he and Nach had their falling out. Yeah, and they didn't really maintain contact for many years because Nach, heard more about Nach in the early 2000s, like he did the Crazy World of the Rascals Canadian rap group. He was on this other reggae group called Thieber Incorporation, Richest Man in Babylon. I think he also did some stuff with Bling Dog, but he was really doing a lot in the reggaeton scene. I think he released his album. What's the name of the album? I really wish I could remember the name of the album, but I heard some songs that was really good. He did some really good stuff there though, but he didn't really hear much from Notch over the years after that though. I mean, he still does things in reggaeton for the most part. I think last I saw him was in one of Damian Marley's recent videos. I think I don't know if it was 2 years ago or what or so on. But the thing is that with Edley Shine, he's just from what he's doing is doing more underground stuff. Like he's mostly been hanging with Mad Lion who was another reggae hip hop artist who's not Jamaican, but he has strong ties to both cultures. And Madland, just like Born Jamaican, is one of my favorite artists growing up as a teenager. Alright, so his Edley was mostly doing stuff with Mad Lion for a bit. I think he was doing some stuff with KRS One. Who else is he doing stuff? But he's just been mostly more underground. As opposed to Nach, who was just doing more stuff with reggaeton, do some more commercialized stuff. But both of them are still doing their thing. All right. So I think with this article he went to talk about how he didn't really they weren't really welcomed by a lot of Jamaican people in the Jamaican dancehall fraternity. I think he even mentioned that they both got into some trouble for this LP Boom Shack Attack, which I think was I'm trying to remember who did the song, but they got into some trouble with that. All right, and the thing is that despite the fact that they weren't greeted as openly from a lot of Jamaican artists, a lot of Jamaican reggae dancehall enthusiasts, they still got some respect through the scenes because I think There were cool lot of artists like Sprague Benz, Shaggy, Merciless, Johnny Osborne was no thing like they also kicked it with Shaba, I think Supercat. I think Beanie and Bounty. I'm not sure, but I know that there are a lot of the Jamaican, a lot of reggae artists really did were cool to born Jamaicans, even if they didn't get the love that they should love that they should have got back in the days. All right. So I think what it says in the article. All right. What else we're saying? So basically, it just talks about their struggle to kind of make a name for themselves in the dancehall industry, even though they hit few some hip hop stuff, kind of like what Mad Lion did. But all I can say is like I'm can't wait to hear this new LP from Edley Shine. I think with the COVID-19 that's still ongoing, I think he's most likely going to release it online, like with Foreign's Finest. So can't wait to check that out though. But all I can say with Born Americans is that they were ahead of their time. Like they didn't really, I didn't feel like they got the respect and appreciation that they should have gotten though, because these guys should have been much bigger though, because even though that they went separately to do their own things, I think both Notch and Ed kind of reunited briefly. I think 2 or 3 years ago. We don't know how that went, because you didn't really hear them. Yeah, I think they even collaborated on Rihanna and Drake's remix of Work. But apart from that, they haven't really done anything together as of recently. And I think it's indicated that they're still going to be doing their own thing separately, but they're going to say, okay, when it comes to, it will work together on a business level, but we haven't heard from anything them doing any more collaborations as of yet. But that'd be cool if they did, but separately or together. These guys should have been much bigger than they already were, and with Edley Shine especially, though, like he should have been much bigger than he is. And I say Cut Notch kind of had some degrees of success because he was doing this thing for several years, but these guys are ahead of time. I think that they should have gotten they should have gotten bigger because remember you have artists like Elaine, who's okay. If you know who Elaine is, that is like basically like it looks like a younger version of Nadine Sutherland, and she's American, African American, as is Barbie, who was one of the female artists that Beanie Man worked with, and they're gotten more recognition within dancehall, uh, as opposed to like Notch and Ed. All right, so all I can say is like can't wait to check this out though. 'Cause I was a big fan of these guys growing up as a teenager, and these guys should have been gotten much more love and appreciation within dancehall and in hip hop too. Because even hip hop, they didn't really. I don't get the impression that they really appreciated them as much. From what I stand, but anyways, this is for State of Jamaica and the Caribbean. Check out my YouTube pages, Miles Gussenfern and Miles J Productions. Okay.